Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make my twist pop-up card for 2022. So the first thing I do is go into Cricut Design Space and find my projects in the cloud, and I can click customize if I want to change anything or just make it if I know it's ready to go. So I click customize. I can just show you around here. This is on my iPad, so you can actually see all the layers when you move them around, and I really like that feature when using an iPad. So what you want to do is cut all your pieces. So whether you're cutting in cardstock or glitter vinyl or glitter cardstock, choose those before you start the project and then cut all your pieces. Now for this project I have a special secret weapon. If you have this press and seal, then grab it, keep it handy. I'll show you how to use that in a bit. First up, we're going to take the white piece of cardstock. Now this is going to create the base of the pop-up card. So I like to use a poster board or a thicker cardstock because it makes it nice and sturdy. Once you've folded it, you can refold, open the card, close the card many times as you like, and it's not going to suddenly get all soft and flimsy. It is going to last. So there are score lines on this piece of cardstock. I obviously got the Cricut to score the lines for me. So all I'm doing is folding down the lines that are already there and pressing them down with my scraper tool here to make sure they're really defined folded lines. So there are two tricky parts to this card, and this is the first of those. How you fold this really makes a difference to whether the pop-up is going to work or not. So follow what I'm doing, hold the card exactly the same, put your fingers in those and then push the card together. You kind of want to make like a house shape, and then when you have that shape, press it all down nice and flat. So this black piece has 3 score lines on it to create 4 different boxes. So fold down those score lines, and again make sure the creases are really defined. You can use a scraper tool again or a bone folder if you have one. And you want to fold it sort of both ways as well. Really making sure there's lots of movement in there, whichever way you're going to bend it. And then you want to create kind of an M shape, just like this. There we go. So now you're going to glue the white pieces inside the base of the card. You can use any colour cardstock for this, patterned or otherwise. You can even use glue instead of a tape gun like I'm using. I find the tape gun is great because it does stick very quickly, but you can't move it around afterwards like you could if you glued something slightly off center, and you could fix it before it dried. Now this is the other tricky part of this card. It's making sure the M-shaped black piece goes in between the kind of legs of this little white house part. So this is the pop-up mechanism, so you do need to get this bit really right, and hopefully I've shown you clearly enough what I do for this. And I'm going to take my scoring tool and I'm going to draw around the base of that side, hold it tight, flip it over, and then do the same on the other side. Now this is going to show me where I need to glue or put my double-sided tape in order to create that mechanism. So I am using the double-sided tape because it is quicker, and I'm not very patient. I like to test the mechanism right away, and when you have glued it, you have to let it dry first. So if you're impatient like me, then maybe double-sided tape is the way to go. But make sure it's a nice strong one if you're making pop-up cards. So I sped this up a little bit. You're just going to repeat the process on the other side, sticking it exactly where your score lines were, so that you know when you open and close it, it pops up like that. Perfect. So I chose to use glue on the next part, which is a Recollections glue I really like because it does dry pretty quickly. But if you put the mechanism in the wrong place, you do have a little time to adjust it. So I use glue for this particular part. If you can spot the deliberate mistake in this video, brownie points for you. At the end I will let you know. You have to look carefully, and we will discover it once I open the pop-up card in a little bit. But you want to put glue on both sides, both those little triangles, close the card, and then place something heavy on top of it, a book or my iPad in this case, just to weigh it down. And then we're going to make the inside of the card whilst that dries. So I've sped this up super fast because I'm literally just gluing these numbers onto the glitter rectangles. that I put, and then I'm going to use the tape gun again to stick them on the inside of the card. So now our pop-up mechanism is dry. Can you spot the mistake? Now I say deliberate mistake, it really wasn't deliberate at the time. When I designed it, I did do the writing a little too big. So in my design, I'm going to go back in and correct that and make the writing a little smaller, or maybe just take the third word out or completely, because when it's finished, you can really only read "Bring It 2022" instead of "Bring It On," because the mechanism is stuck on that last word. So this is something to take note of when you're designing your own pop-up cards. So I decided to cut the wording out of vinyl. This is going to make it super easy to attach to the front of the card, and I like to use Cricut removable vinyl for projects like these. I find it's really easy to weed. So I have my weeding tool, and if you stick the back of the vinyl onto the mat, that helps whilst you're weeding as well, and then just pull that vinyl back on itself. And I'm just helping the little bits come away, leaving the bits I need on the back there. So I don't know how you do your weeding, but I have an Wet Ones container which I use to get the scraps of vinyl off the end of my weeding tool, and it has a rock in the bottom, and it's not full. I've been using it for a couple of years and it really does last. But I got one of these in my stocking from Santa. It's a nail polish holder. I've seen other crafters use them and I thought I would give it a whirl. So let's take this here. Rather than sticking all the scraps of vinyl to the back of your hand or your mat, you can pop them in here. This goes between your fingers, right? And then it actually works pretty well. I do like my Wet Ones container for the small tiny bits. This would work for bigger pieces for sure. And if you want to paint your nails at the same time, why not? So now we have the vinyl cut out. As you can see, it's a nice clean line there. I'm going to put this to one side, and this is going on the very front of the card. So now I did cut two different options for the front of my card because I couldn't decide. I had the silver and then the white with the silver stars, and I just found the white with the pattern was a bit more distracting, especially as the lettering was going to go on top of it. So I went with the silver mirrored cardstock, and again my trusty tape gun comes out in order to stick that to the front of the card. Now have your press and seal ready because you're going to need it in just a sec. So once that front piece is stuck down, grab yourself a piece of press and seal. It just needs to be big enough to cover that Happy New Year sign or whatever it is you choose to put on the front. I found the Happy New Year design in Design Space, but again you could use any font and design your own wording. Design Space I find has so many things in there already designed for you that you really don't have to make your own designs if you don't want to. And having Cricut Access makes all those designs free as well, which really is good value for money. Now you can cut the font out of cardstock if you want. I find vinyl is super easy to use, it's easy to weed. The only problem with putting vinyl on cardstock is your transfer tape might actually pull up and damage the card itself underneath, which is why I'm using press and seal. If you saw the charger plates that people were making at Christmas time, the Santa chargers, that can peel really easily, and I find press and seal on those puts your design down, but it does not peel back any of the paint or damage any of the projects that you're working on. So there's a little cheat sheet for you. So there we have, press it down, peel back that press and seal, and the card is complete. Happy New Year! Bring it on, 2022. Thanks for watching, and I wish you a Happy New Year.